Hello everyone, welcome back to the Odys podcast. This time we've talked to Angelo Sorbello, a young entrepreneur from Italy who now lives in Switzerland. He runs a portfolio of websites including linkdelta.com and digitally.co. We've talked about a number of things, so just keep listening and find out what it is all about. To support this podcast, subscribe to the Odys Global YouTube channel or follow us on your favorite streaming platform. It's good to see you. It's good to meet you again, Angelo. I hope we're going to have a terrific conversation, especially considering you're such an easygoing guy, as far as I can tell. And it's really, really great to have you on the podcast and just to unveil some of the things that you've been going through and you going through right now at this moment in terms of handling business, doing things online, and handling all the other things that you have in your life right now. And speaking of, you started to look into SEO, site building quite early when you were rather young. Could you please tell the viewers and listeners your story of how it all went down for you?
Yeah, sure. I mean, first of all, thanks a lot for having me. I'm glad to be here, and I hope what I'm gonna share is gonna be helpful for as many people as possible. I'm gonna try to make it as valuable as possible. I started quite young. I stumbled across SEO because I really like to write. I was 13 and I like video games, like most 13 years old, and I was also quite entrepreneurial. Like I was always like starting side hustle, trying to sell, like flipping things here and there. So one of my dreams was actually to have a magazine. I like to write. I like video games. So I started writing online because obviously I couldn't have a physical magazine because nobody was reading my stuff. So I was trying to figure out how to actually get organic traffic to my website. Back in the days, like it was 2007. So it was either SEO or AdWords. You don't really use AdWords for this kind of stuff. So I figured out that SEO was my answer. And that's how my journey began. Like I managed to rank that website in third position for video games review in Italy, which is my own country. And I mean, from there, things started to happen. I started to reach out to all of the video games companies because I wanted video games for free. And so I also had an incentive to increase my traffic because obviously like video games companies don't give video games to just a random blog or site. Once I had some good volumes, like I started to create some relationships, like some of these companies started to advertise as well on the website. I didn't make crazy money just to be upfront and transparent, but I'm very happy that it got me into the game because it gave me confidence that this online thing was actually this online business thing was actually a thing, was actually possible. And I mean, it also got me confidence into me being an entrepreneur in the future. It made me realize that it's actually a career when I was just a kid. So yeah, then I went to university. I didn't know whether to go to university or not, but a mentor of mine, one of my early age mentors, he told me, because I wasn't sure what I was gonna do. I was like, maybe I will do some online things, maybe some real estate. He told me, man, while you figure it out, why don't you just enroll at university? And he told me and he explained me cost opportunity there. He told me, you go at the university for 3 years, no matter which university you go. So because it's 3 years anyways, you might as well just try to get at the best university you can get admitted in. So this is like 2 years before the admission test at university. And I remember I started to study like a madman for getting into this it's one of the best business schools, and it's in Italy as well. It's like, I think it ranked like top 10 in a bunch of in most of rankings, and I got in. So it was a great opportunity, and I put the my entrepreneurial side on the side. Like I was just too busy studying, and on one hand, it slowed me down. On one hand, it helped me out because it taught me like all of these corporate finance things that we use, because like websites are an investment. I see them as an alternative class of investments. Mm-hmm. Am I going too far? Like I went on a tangent. It's so hard to summarize.
It's all right.
A long journey. Like, yeah, I mean, just to finish. During university, I realized I didn't want to go on a normal career path as a consultant or investment banker, like most of my friends wanted to do at university. So I went back to the online business thing, and my goal was to have a full-time income by the end of by graduation time.
That's planned.
I eventually managed to do it, even though like I started another site in the English market. I managed to do it through my agency that was born in the meanwhile. The agency started to fund my first website, which I then sold 2 years after. And yeah, since then I just kept experimenting. I started a bunch of projects on Odys domains, on other expired domains. I flipped one of those on Fire Flippers, and just other projects. Keep experimenting, building brands. Really, it's a portfolio from my perspective. I mean, I tried to summarize it and keep it short, but it's just hard. It's just hard, man.
Just too many things happened. Yeah, well, one thing that you mentioned that you started to do in business while still studying, and this brought to my mind the thought that when you're starting to do something you're learning to do, in the meantime, it always gives you an upper hand in both the studies and the work. Because my wife is a journalist. She's a certified journalist, and she's been studying journalism, right? And in the first year of studies, she began to work in one of the local newspapers, and it really boosted her skills, and the understanding of everything. So yeah, it's really cool that you decided early on where you want to go. And another thing that your story reminded me of is that I don't know if you're following MMA sport, mixed martial arts.
I used to do MMA in the past.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
nice.
But just shortly. Like I think I did like 4 months. I was doing some kickboxing as well. Yeah.
And just decided to try. Well, okay. The thing I wanted to mention is that commentators, color commentators, especially, like they often mention these days during the fights between guys where at least one of the opponents is a young guy, like in his either early 20s, or for example, there's one guy in the UFC right now who's 18 years old. So he's still 17 or 18 years old. So he's still studying at school, and he's fighting in the promotion, and they always mention this new breed of fighters, and your story kind of like sounds like a new breed of specialists because you start early on.
I don't know. I mean, I hope so, of course, but obviously with athletes, like you need to be pretty young. Like if you don't make it big while you're young, you're probably not gonna make it. With entrepreneurship, you still have 2, 3, 4, 5 chances, if not more. Like I love biographies of entrepreneurs, and for one of the most famous entrepreneurs that made it big quite late in his age is obviously like Ray Kroc from McDonald's. His biography is awesome. Actually, it gives so many more, such a more in-depth story and understanding of what happened than the movie. The movie is like obviously like a more Hollywood version, simplified. But many people it takes time, I think. And it depends a lot on your starting point, right? With athleticism, it depends a lot on also it's your body and what's your genetics and all of these things and the effort that you put in. With entrepreneurship, it depends on the capital you started from, your surroundings, the people you stumbled across. I mean,
yeah,
there is Yeah.
But still the understanding counts too, right?
Yeah.
It's like the understanding of how things work.
I think some people are just more entrepreneurial. They're just born more for being entrepreneurial.
Speaking of genetics.
Yeah. Well, for example, I read that people that have ADHD are can be bad entrepreneurs because they can handle more things and chaos more easily. And entrepreneurship is obviously chaotic. So from what I know, I mean, I'm not an expert in these kind of things, but ADHD can be an imbalances in your neurochemicals. So it's basically you're born with that, and you wouldn't function as well doing a job like crunching Excel spreadsheets, and that requires like to be focused there, being very repetitive and all of that. But as an entrepreneur, you can add a lot of value in that case. And it's really life is really that. I think like we keep doing things that we are good at, and some things are just better for us. Entrepreneurship is special because I think a lot of people wouldn't get into entrepreneurship if they knew what will imply. Like entrepreneurship is crazy because it's just so much risk and it's all on yourself. And I think a lot of people like glamorize entrepreneurship these days, and they might make it sound cool and everything else. But I mean, I think, and it's just facts, it's just statistics that entrepreneurs are more inclined to things like depression and all of that. It's just so much over your shoulders. I do think some people make better entrepreneurs, but perhaps there is some destiny there. There is an interesting book I read recently. It's called The Soul's Code, which is a book it's from Hillman. It's quite famous. I think I think it's a psychologist, quite famous in the US. And he writes about how it looks like certain people are literally born to end up doing certain things.
Yeah.
Because it's obviously they are bringing their genetics and all of those things, but it looks like there is a sort of harmony in the universe where you're kind of like there to fulfill a certain thing perhaps in the universe or not. I'm not like woohoo or anything else, so I don't want to lose the people that are not woohoo. I think this book is actually quite rational. I just found it interesting. I'm not sure if I agree completely, but I just thought it was an interesting point.
Gives a food for thought.
Yeah, I think there is some truth behind. I don't think it's completely true, but I think there is some truth.
I don't know if you've heard of a neuroscientist from the Netherlands named Dick Schwab. He wrote several great books about the brain, and I've listened to one of them in the audio format. And he didn't touch on entrepreneurial skills that like form in the early age, but he touched upon things like sexuality and gender perception. Sorry, yeah, that form like in the early stages of the human development, and a number of things affect the links that form in the brain. You know, so he was basically saying, for example, like that there's no such things as a homosexuality gene, you know, but there are factors that inevitably lead to that, like mother's body and some external factors, all the different stuff. And he also touched on a number of other things. But I think like all of these, this gives a very, very nice perspective on how we come out the way we are. I mean, every single person, you know, it's like, of course when you grow up and when you start understanding how life works, at least to some extent, you become like the owner of your own actions, your own decisions, and you're going to respond for the things you do and the actions you take. But understand that, for example, you're hyperactive not because you're just you became such a person, or you're just a bad guy, but because there were some factors that led to it, gives a better perspective to what you can do with it, like, and I think it kind of like goes the same way with the entrepreneurship.
Yeah, and it's really like a matter of like the journey of life is a journey of understanding who we really are and who we want to be, what is the purpose that we want to give to life, or if we don't want, or whether we want to give purpose to life. So and to do that, you inevitably need to decondition yourself from even your upbringing, because you certain things from your upbringing you keep, certain things you realize they are not constructive for you. Like, for example, around myself, I didn't have entrepreneurs or people that encouraged me in my entrepreneurial journey, and obviously made me self-doubt a lot growing up. But I think until you keep pushing and you feel to the core that is what you want to do, I think there is no other way, and actually have higher chances of succeeding, in the sense that if you really have to do something, you figure out a way. Mm-hmm. If you like, you're like, yeah, maybe I do it, maybe I don't do it, then it's just like stays in between and it doesn't push you there. Like after I graduated, like my friends thought I was crazy being an entrepreneur. Especially in these obscure online things, because for many people it's not clear what building, for example, a content site is. Even though it's very, like, you have so many media companies that are publicly traded, mm-hmm. or that actually do it. It's just that the business model is not clear to everyone, and so it just looked weird and extremely risky, even in terms of reputation, because it's like, oh, what do you do if it fails and everything else? But in that case, that's why I wanted to start early, because I think I read actually this book, not to always reference books, but there is this book that studies billionaires and things in common between billionaires. Mm-hmm. It's very well written, and it sounds cheesy and everything else, but it's actually it uses a lot of rationality and critical thinking. And one of the things in common is that a lot of self-made billionaires gamble, especially poker, or what is Warren Buffett doing? Like I don't know. I don't remember right now. How's it called? I forgot the name of the game that he plays. But a lot of people obviously.
Is it a card game?
I think so. I never played it. That's why no, I don't remember. Yeah,
doesn't matter.
But a lot of people like that I know in the website, content sites industry, they are all former poker players, or they played a lot poker. I myself played quite a lot of poker. And there is this great book, by the way, by Annie Dirks that is called Thinking in Bets. Mm-hmm. And poker is obviously a game of probability. Like these days I don't play a lot because I don't think it's worth my time, in the sense that like my hourly rate playing poker would be lower anyways. But it taught me like how to think in probability and now to evaluate this expected value, which is basically like in poker you are able to play professionally, because if you make consistently decisions that probabilistically and mathematically make sense, over time you're gonna like beat up luck eventually, because your decisions like put you like all of these expected decisions with a positive expected value is just makes sense they're gonna pay it off. There is luck, like there is luck in life, but obviously like you cannot counteract that, but you can choose your decision, which is also like a stoic way of thinking. Is like, what can I do to see more clearly what is happening right now? And poker as well works with your own biases, which is what Charlie Munger's always talks about. Like to be a good investor or entrepreneur in general, like as an entrepreneur, you allocate capital. This is the definition of entrepreneurship. You allocate capital, which can be your monetary resources, or it can be your human capital. It can be like your employees and everything else. to allocate in a better way, you need to see things for what they are, not your biased version. So to come back to my journey, like when I did the jump from university and entrepreneurship, I had this site that was making so and so money. The agency was making right enough to give me a decent living, like let's say, but not crazy. I just saw that how much the website was growing, and I saw that my bet was gonna pay, like had a high probability of paying off. So I thought, okay, worst case, I just keep building this site for a year. The probability is very high that it's gonna pay it off, and if it pays off, it's gonna be like way higher than eventually losing time doing a job for a year. In the worst case, I go back and get a job in a year, and it eventually paid off, and we're here now.
Yeah,
but to the if somebody's not seeing that or thinking that or looking at your numbers, they cannot get it. It's like, doesn't make sense. You need to have. I remember some people around me that were like trying to discourage me from taking this journey. And it's like, man, have you seen the numbers? Have you seen, like, do you actually understand this thing? It's like when you begin around you, like, you don't have the circle of people like I have right now that I can share ideas with. You have just a bunch of people that think they understand business, but they don't. Because they think they understand business because they use platforms or stuff like that. But they understand business the same way I understand medicine. I can read the medicine thing. It's not that I understand it. Like, I can have some talks probably wrong 80% of the times. So yeah, most of these people, they don't even like to make an effort to understand business. They just think they know. And you need to cut out so much. 99% of the stuff you need to cut out and just follow like things from people that actually use critical thinking in those stuff. Because life is too short to listen to too many other people. But not to be arrogant or something. I'm just saying, like, I read books and all of that. Like, listen, I consistently like outreach to people and say, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think of that? I spend like €1,000 almost every month getting consultations from people. Just because, but these are people that I know that are more expert than me in certain things. Yeah, I mean, I think it's clear what I mean.
Absolutely. And kind of reminded me of, well, I also love reading. I love reading books, but I'm particularly inclined into popular science and especially physics, astrophysics, quantum physics, all that kind of stuff, elementary physics. And one of the best books in my book is Einstein by Walter Isaacson. Yeah, it's another example of a great written book that puts things into perspective, not just for scientists, it's because it's not meant for scientists, but of how like creative thinking works, of how looking for solutions or the truth works. Speaking of what you were saying about moving to the goal and being persistent. This is the word, being persistent in what you do, especially in terms of entrepreneurship. How often is it true that you still have to heed the cases where you should just stop, take a step back, and look if your strivings are feasible?
Oh wow, just so hard to give overall answer to this, I think, because to come back to before, like, and in poker, one of the most famous thing is the sunk cost fallacy, right? Sunk cost fallacy is the tendency of human beings. It's a bias of our thought process, which is if you start to invest onto something, you want to keep investing into it because now you have a sunk cost. It's like you stay 10 years in a relationship, even though even though it's not going well, you want to keep staying with that person. In business, like in poker, is like you're playing a hand, then you realize the cards show up, and you realize that your probabilities are not anymore advantageous for you. You should get out probably to not lose the whole stack that you have. In business, it's the same. But it's just hard to understand it when you are in it. For example, like I have a project like where me and my partner, in this project, we invested quite a lot, and it's working on some ends, but in other ends, it's not getting the traction that we wanted to see. So in those cases, the only thing you can do is either doubling down on the investment, invest even more, and try to get those results, or adjust along the way, or just like scratch it up and be like, okay, we thought it was gonna go differently. Especially with SEO, I mean, that is like, it's not a straight path. If it would be a straight path, we would all be billionaires here. You need to, I heard, like, I was in Chiang Mai like a month ago, and this SEO, like this famous SEO guy was saying, SEOs, professional SEOs, real experts, they don't get it right 100% of the times, probably not even 80%. It's just they get it right more often than 50%. I don't know if I agree fully, but yeah, the idea makes sense. It's like you need to, it's a matter of iterating and adjust with what is happening around you. Like, you're not the only variable. There are so many other variables to take into consideration. Some sides, some niches are easier, others are more complicated. There are other players that are playing their cards. Like I entered some niches where they were less competitive, but the competitors just went heavy on like link building and all of that, and just suddenly got more competitive. Like, there is not just you're not the only variable, and it's just a matter of iterating. And that's the real skill in SEO. Like, the most important thing is understanding that, like, your niche in SEO, like in business, is like understanding your ROI. What is going to be your return on the investment? It's not really the niche that matter. It's like, are you going to have a higher ROI in a certain niche than another? At least if you want to look at that from an investment point of view. Like, as I said, I have more like, let's say, financial point of view on these things. Like, I look at decides like an alternative asset class where to invest on, but and this portfolio like that. But obviously, like, Odys also sells, for example, to startups that want to start their own project. Or like, let's say you really love a certain niche, you probably are better off just going there. Maybe the ROI is lower, but you probably have a higher chance of succeeding there, because you know, and you're passionate about it. You actually are willing to put in more work. It's all like, there is no like right or wrong.
Yeah, that actually sounds pretty similar to what Shauna Newman was saying in our in episode 3. She loves board games. There is or was a site dedicated to board games, an affiliate site. And yeah, she was really, really passionate about it. And she either flipped it, or she keeps on working on it, and it just keeps on bringing income. Yeah, so really.
Yeah. When I was doing MMA, I started an MMA side. I haven't touched it in like 6 years. I just published a bunch of posts. I think it makes like a bunch of maybe $50 a month. But like, it's not a profitable niche in Italy, for sure not. Might be in the US. I have no idea. I haven't touched it because like the ROI was not there, but like, it was fun. It was fun to learn more about it, for example. Nowadays, like, for example, I'm very passionate about health, and
about what
I like about health. Like,
health.
I buy so many supplements. Like, I spend too much money on supplements. I think everyone has a certain thing where they overspend, or they impulse buy. Yeah. And for me, it's also supplements. It's like I'm kind of like, I don't know if you could say biohacker. I'm not like crazy level biohacker. Like I don't do crazy things, but so like I have like a big side about supplements, and I sold the side about supplements on Empire Flippers a while ago, and yeah, I just like them, and so I'm actually happy to follow them because it's something that I buy. But yeah, so that's something actually I've been focusing on more, because like SEO gets more competitive. Like affiliate SEO gets more competitive, and in the article, in the case study, success story, I don't know how you want to call it. How you call it
Your
on the
story.
blog?
It's a story.
A success story sounds too huge.
Yeah. Well,
like,
not that it's just too
pompous.
huge. It's a little bit, the term success story is all over the place, and I think it's just gotten to a point that where audiences don't take this term seriously, So we just keep it. We just keep those success stories of our members as stories, Odys stories. So it's your story.
but like I'm happy to share all the time like things, because I actually listen to these things. Like I listen to like journeys of like unknown SEOs that go on a podcast, like pretty much myself, and or like I actually read these success stories and stuff. I just always like think people do SEO differently, or do business differently. They have their own approach based on their own skill set. Like some people are more heavy on link building, or some people are more technical and all of that. That is really not the right path. There is like a different path and a different way. So I'm just always curious how other people are doing things. But in my success story, I brought about the importance of branding. Like I was lucky enough to like meet some of the most famous SEOs, some really strong SEO over the last 2 years, and something that almost all of them, they were telling me, I'm just gonna focus on less sites, and I'm gonna like treat them as a real brand. Not only because it's like you do basically what Google wants to see. Google wants like you actually act like a proper site, but it's just a much better mindset that leads you to make better decisions. So over the last year, I was thinking, okay, what are the projects that I can focus more and treat them like a brand, like an actual business, not just a random affiliate site. And I think it made me make better decisions, and just because it puts in a better, more constructive point of view, and less short-term focus. I think short-term taxes are okay. I do like testing of gray hat stuff on like other domains and all of that. I think it's okay to experiment with whatever you want to experiment. But branding and all of that, like so many other SEOs are talking about it. And for me nowadays, it's less projects and projects that I can eventually build something recognizable in, eventually in the niche. Because also like it opens you up to so many other, like if you actually want to scale a company. And I think if you're not trying to scale, I was actually reading it in a book today. It's that if you're not trying to grow your business, it's not a matter. It's either a matter you try to grow your business or your business is gonna die. This was Dan Martell, which is very, very accomplished entrepreneur. I mean, he founded Clarity, which is still used nowadays. He just published this new book. I was reading it today. Because if you don't strive for growth, your employees are probably not gonna stick around. The other people are now trying to grow and overcome you, and it's not just true in highly competitive niches. If you have a bar, you have like a cocktail bar in your local town. There are always new cocktail bars trying to pop up with something new and all of that, and take your customers and all of that. It's true in every kind of business. So for me, I'm trying to grow all the time, and I think right now the path eventually like treating as something like a real brand gives you more options for growth. Like for example, you do supplements, you could start your own supplements line. You could start doing, I don't know, your clothes. I don't know, man. You can do so many things. You could create a full media company and have a podcast now, like Odys is doing. Odys is a company that's doing it very well, for example, and actually building a brand. And yeah, I could ramble about this so much because it's also like in online marketing, there is so much emphasis on direct marketing. This way of like focusing only on the short term ROI that you're gonna get from advertising campaigns, for example. But these days, it's just like the world is so crowded.
Yeah.
And it requires so many more touches to eventually convert that having a brand is just like means you get actually higher chance of getting recurring customers, and you can flip it for a way higher multiple, most likely. Eventually you can have a life-changing flip. I've seen some sites, like even in the Italian market, which seen some M&A stuff of content sites that were sold for like 18 million.
Oh, wow.
and things like that, or several millions even. Or it's just like, at that point, you have just so many more leverage. You could eventually even get a loan and leverage even more capital, or you could raise funding from VCs. I don't know. Like, it's just, you can also not do any of these things that I mentioned, but at least you have more leverage, and I think you really don't have an option right now, because it's like smaller sites like that just like where you just kind of half-assed the work. They're not working like 10 years ago. The level of competition is so much higher. You just need to really step up your game. And the other people are stepping up your game. If you don't do it and you have like 10 half-assed sites, you cannot compete with like one guy that is just focusing on one side and he's going heavy on it. And these people are smart. Like it's not like, they're like using 100% of the brain power of 1 to 3 sides. It's just like higher chance of winning. Now that Google is penalizing so much in certain SERPs, these lower DR sites is like pushing these bigger authority sites in certain SERPs. Seems to be the trend, and I think the trend is like towards higher branded authority sites eventually. I mean, there are also different steps to the game.
So that's that's a lot to think about.
You rambled again for like 10 minutes.
It's totally fine. I mean, this is the purpose of this podcast, to get the most out of the guest. Your personality, your thoughts, your perspectives. This is what I personally want to do. Not just to follow a strict set of questions from time to time. I just want us to have an active, live conversation that would take us anywhere. Like, for example, when we were talking with Aizadine last time, we went to AI, we went to Amazon's Inspire, we went to TikTok and his path of selling mice in the beginning, and it was super fun. And I mean, we're having a very similar conversation in these terms, because we get to see and to hear you as an alive human being, not just like a robot entrepreneur who will share his pro tips, but you share your path, all the corners, all the shady streets, that you've been through and are working right now. And this is the best part, of how it goes. Getting back to handling businesses and websites. You mentioned that the first site you sold was like in a few years after starting to work on it. Right? Am I right?
I mean, yeah, I sold the video game site that I used to have, like, but that was much smaller. And I sold that site. Was 2 years after I started it.
Oh, nice. Yeah. And
it was about software.
Did you? How much of a success did you consider it at that time? Back then, when you sold it?
For me, it was huge, man. Even though, like, I actually shared it with you already, but I will share it again. I got crushed by the valuation because I started selling it through one broker, and the site was sold for like, it was like 37K. So what happened is that the broker didn't treat the whole thing professionally. I will not mention the broker, but he didn't. I was definitely not happy with how they managed the thing, because the buyer backed down from the deal, but it's like there was no protection for me and all of that. And like, you're paying a broker to handle these kind of situations professionally. But anyways, I ended up selling that site a week after. The problem is that in the meanwhile, it also got hit by a Google algorithm update. So at that point, I was just tired of the whole process of selling, and I decided I could have tried to, work on the site, try to recover it and make it grow again. But I was just tired and I wanted to sell it. So I ended up selling it for like 20K less or something like that. I was still happy because it was a huge sum. Back then, it would still be huge right now, obviously.
So you still consider it a great success?
Hell yeah!
That first sale.
It gave me so much, gave me confidence that what I was doing made sense. The only issue of selling a site is that you don't have immediate cash flow. Like, that was my biggest site. I only had like a bunch of experiments on the side. I didn't have cash flow. That's when I got back to the agency and actually one of the people that wanted to buy my site, I hopped on a call with him and I told him, man, I'm sorry, like, the site got sold like 3 hours ago. The guy already wired the money, but we opened a call because he was a very accomplished entrepreneur. I was actually curious to meet him. And the guy was running another business, and he asked me, "Hey, I saw you have an agency." And I wasn't taking clients for the agency. For like 3-4 months, I turned down all the clients because I was like just focusing on this affiliate side and other things in my life. Like, it was a period of my life I wanted to just take more time off and all of that. And I was like, oh, wow. Well, my girlfriend's moving to Switzerland. I might as well get some more money. Like, Switzerland is pricey. And I got the agency. I didn't have a strong cash flow anymore. And I got this client, and the agency, like 1 month after, another friend of a friend reached out, and he was also interested in SEO. I'm like, oh, seems like might as well just set up the agency right again. And like, the agency is actually growing a lot. I'm really happy with how it's progressing, but obviously agencies are much more complicated business because it just requires more human interactions with your team and the clients. And I'm blessed. I found some amazing people that opt on my team, and otherwise I wouldn't be able to run so many things. And I mean, that's also the thing about entrepreneurship. Like, there are levels to these things. Not that like, if you are in another level, it's better than the other. But because like, some people just decide, okay, I have a 6-figure business. I like this. I will try to just keep it there and have a more lifestyle kind of business. For me, it's more about scaling even further. And to do that, you need more people, and it's a skill in itself. Like, having a team, like, I learned something new every day on how to manage a team. And right now we are 5, and I'm thinking of hiring another person because we just onboarded 10 clients, which is quite a lot in like 2 months, which was crazy over Christmas vacation and stuff. But yeah, it's fine. I'm happy for all that. I'm so happy like to see also, because like my goal was to have people, I know this like sounds cliche, like be in a room with people who are smarter than you and all of that. I'm just so happy when like some people in the team come up with something like so smart, and it's like, damn it, I haven't talked about that. You just need to have like, some people are just much better at certain things. Like I'm not good at Excel spreadsheet. I'm not good at making like fancy reports. But there is a person on my team that is just so good. I look at this Excel PowerPoint presentation or Excel spreadsheet. I'm like, wow, man, it's so beautiful.
Yeah, it's always great to have people around you that love their trade.
Yeah.
How many businesses are you running right now? Can you count them?
Well, as I said, like I'm trying to really focus on the ones that have the highest potential. So we have the agency, which is Link Delta. There is digitale.co, which is my affiliate site about like software comparisons,
and it's in Italian.
It's in Italian. It also has a US version, but I don't own the US version. It's a joint venture with this friend of mine. I have a few other things which are secondary. The other things that I'm working heavily on is this health website. So I would say these are my three main focuses. Then I have like smaller sites or things, maybe not even smaller. Maybe they are bigger in terms of traffic and revenues right now. It's just that I'm just like looking to eventually improve them and then flip them, or just keeping them at that level. So like I put them more on, let's say, maintenance mode. I mean, I try to grow them, but let's say I have like I have a set goal for each one of them. It's like, okay, this site is put on the side. I don't focus a lot on it, but it's like every month it gets 5 backlinks and a bunch of new content. So yeah, I would say these three are my main things: the health side, the software comparison side, and the agency.
Yeah. So you're basically doing business online. And what is your general approach to creating a website? I mean, what do you start with, and how do you proceed further on? Okay,
so by the way, something interesting I wanted to say is that last year I bought a SaaS, and I didn't mention it, but it's a business that I freaking love. Like SaaS companies like are just so amazing to have these recurring revenues and stuff. It's just that it's a micro SaaS. I think more people should look into this. It's a micro SaaS, so it doesn't have like crazy upside potential, but it's just wild. Like, and I look at it every now and then. It's like, wow, that's so beautiful, these recurring revenues. Even like if the site goes down and all of that, it's just much less effort eventually than the agency, than the recurring revenues of the agency. But how do I build a site? So let's say it depends on if I'm using an H domain, a domain like, let's say I took from Odys. I usually publish a lot of content on it right away to create this topical relevancy and to establish this newfound topical relevancy. So let's say the site was about finance, add some finance backlinks, more or less relevant to the new niche that I chose. I'm just gonna publish everything that I can find about that niche, like 100, maybe 200 articles on it as quickly as possible. The same for other authority side, like for this health side, I did the same. Niche sites, obviously, it's very similar strategy. Is like you just cover the whole topical map, and then I start building links at the same time. So I start with foundation links, like citations eventually, and the social fortress, like usual stuff. And then I start with guest post. I try, if I can, I try to do some digital PR right away. I think digital PR is so good. It's just like it's just unpredictable. Like it requires a lot of time. You need to eventually have some people that take care of it, because it requires time to just outreach to journalists and all of that.
Yeah.
But it's just, these are links that your competitors don't have or will hardly have. Obviously, if you start on an Odys domain, you already have those, but you just need, like, if it's a competitive niche, you just need to keep building. So yeah, just a lot of content right away. I have some test sites. Like sometimes I want to test a niche, and I just publish like 10, 20 articles just so that Google sees the new authority, the topic that the website is trying to cover this topic and targeting this topic. And actually, I had like two of my biggest like success were through this strategy, because if the site actually picks up, if Google actually starts to rank those sites well, that's where I double down on, and I just cover the whole topical map, start link building heavily, and I try to look for a flip. With age domain, I had like this age domain that I flipped. It was like December, not last year, 2 years ago. It was literally just that. I bought the domain, I published like 20 articles and built one link per month. Then Google starts noticing the site. I just noticed that, and I just went heavy on it. Again, to the poker reference, I don't want to sound like I play poker a lot or gamble a lot. I actually almost never play these days. I play more like when I was 18, more like that. When you play poker, at least my understanding, because I'm not a professional, is that you don't like poker. Professionals don't usually play a lot of hands. They play their hands, they look for their hands, and when they see that one hand they have an advantage, they just go heavy. They invest aggressively onto that, because that hand will get them a profit and cover their previous looking for hands. And these are like experiments. It's like a way to have several experiments and see like what is gonna perform more. Let's say I found it interesting. There is this guy, I listened on a podcast of Richard Patay. His name is Evan Finzer. I actually don't know him. I only spoke to him once via DM, but I found it very interesting how he built website, because he started with this MVP model, which is similar to mine. Like you start with like 10 websites and you publish a lot of content on it, and then you just see that some sites are performing better, and you double down on those and you go aggressive. And I heard many entrepreneurs that use this strategy, like the founder of, it was like a dating app. I don't remember the name. I think it was Zusk. I don't remember now. Basically, I was listening to the interview of the founder. I don't remember his name, but he said that with his team, they were launching a lot of apps, and like literally they were launching a new app every week.
Oh, wow.
They were developing and creating this MVP. Until like one app was just getting crazy traction, like more traction than the other. And they were like, okay, this is it. This is the app where we focus on. They were going heavy. My approach is very similar with SEO. Only that nowadays that I have a little bit more capital and I'm more, as we said, I'm more brand oriented and all of that. I just like, these days I go really heavy on a site early on. I just I just do everything possible until it works, which I think it's important, because in online business, it's easy to fall for the opportunity mindset. Like you see a lot of people that like start things, or like they follow these business opportunities and all of that. It's obviously like you can do so much, so much. I think we all have some friends that they want to get into online business, and you just see them, they launch a business, and then like after 6 months they're doing something else, and it's like after other 6 months they're doing something else. And it's like, it doesn't work like that. Like if you always follow opportunities, like, oh, this is the best new opportunity, it's like, man, it's endless loop. You need to like figure out what you want to focus on until it works. Then if it doesn't work, you just iterate and figure it out from there. You either stop doing it or whatever. Like I'd like to take like every business that I start, I want to have like a sort of plan B, in the sense that with SEO is actually great for that. Because if you just run ads and the ads don't work, you just wasted a bunch of budget on those creatives. on SEO, like, I think at the end of the day, if you publish a lot of content on a good domain and the content is high quality, you're gonna get some traffic. So you might as well just like break even and sell the site for a small profit. It's hard to, if you do things right, I think it's kind of hard to lose all your investment in SEO, but obviously like it's possible. Like the site just don't flat out work. You just underestimated the competition and all of that. But the most important thing, if you have a budget, you can make everything work. like companies like in finance and all of that, they just invest so much in link building and all. And this, I don't know what is their ROI, because like it's obviously like the joke of like the easiest way to make 1 million is using 10 million on advertisement. And it's like
yeah.
And it's like
sounds
obviously
legit.
like so I just like try to put my test waters and see how Google interacts with the website, because sometimes just Google just loves the site. There is some randomness around that. Sometimes Google just, especially with age domains, I had some age domains where like Google loved it, and you actually had the advantage that all the people that buy age domains look for, which again doesn't have to be opportunity oriented. It doesn't always work though. Like that's the thing, you need to take it into account. But I mean, it's it's like every investment. if like every investment will have a
Speaking of Google, were you hit hard in 2022 by Google updates, or did it spare you?
Not in 2022. Not in 2022. I was hit hard in 2020 on some sites. I would say my biggest thing was 2020, where I was hit hard on some sites, and that was wild.
How did you handle that?
Well, I tried to recover one of the site, and eventually it did recover a little bit. Some other sites, like, I just wasn't caring about them anymore, because like those are sites that are like, I spent like 3K on them, and they were making me like 2K a month at some point. Like I had two sites that were following this trend, and they just started to go down. And I was like, at that point, you know what? I don't care about it anymore.
Not worth it.
I don't think I can push them up again, because the SERP now looks different. It's like you have more players, you have more IDR players, and I just wanted to focus on other things at that point. I got my return, and I was okay with it. I don't know, like algorithm updates is what make this content site business risky. But it's a high risk, high return game, and just you can try. I think links help to stabilize traffic, like authority apps stabilize traffic. So I'm huge into link building, and having a strong, like covering a whole topical map and having strong internal linking, it's huge. Because if you start a site around lots of topics, it's a very easy way to eventually get penalized. It doesn't always happen, but if you have like a very generalist site, it's hard to keep your traffic, because like Google eventually is gonna see you as a master of none, a master of all, and none. Like I don't remember the saying.
I understand what you're saying. So
I mean, you can just try to prevent, but there is also randomness around that. So
new domains or age domains for you personally?
If I can find a good age domain, yes, I go for the age domain, of course, because you have nothing to lose. Like in terms of ROI, you have everything to gain. Like especially when are clean domains like Odys. Like I don't want to sound like too, promotional because I don't have anything to gain. It's like, I mean, I like Vladimir, I like Alex, I like the people on all this team, but it's not like against something. But hey, you have clean domains, you're well vetted, and I think that's the reason why you're so successful in the market. And if you can find a good clean domain that where that is brandable and it makes sense for you, why not? It's just you cannot always find it. Sometimes the niche is too small, or you cannot find it at the right time, and you just have to start. You can always do a 301 eventually, even though like 301s are tricky in the sense that when I tried 301s, I personally never had crazy success. Personally. But I know of some friends of mine that just like, I have a friend that never starts a project if he doesn't have 3 domains to redirect. It's like literally, it's huge. For him, 301s are huge. And on paper, it makes a lot of sense. It's just like, there are many variables to take into account on the domain. But yeah, in general, I would say age domain if you can, fresh domain if you can't.
Yeah, that sounds reasonable.
Because like, man, I spoke about digital PR before.
Yeah.
Man, it's so hard to get digital PR links, or so expensive. Because yeah, even if when you get them for free, but it takes so much of your time, or you need to hire somebody that does it, and it needs to be a smart person. You cannot hire like a low level, like underpaid kind of guy. So just the value of those links is just huge, and for under so many aspects, and they are so hard to get that like what you pay for those domains, it's just like vastly. It's a good deal usually.
What are the best kinds of sites to build on fresh domains versus sites built on aged domains, or in your personal opinion?
I think it's important. It depends on what you want to do with the site. Like if you want to build it like big brand eventually, like making an e-commerce or like a big startup, all of that, it needs to be brandable, I think. It needs to have a name that you actually like. Because like you're gonna spend a lot of the next years of your life on it.
Yeah.
Or a lot of your time anyways. So I think it needs to have the right name, like Odys. Like you can find good brandable age domains, but you cannot always find the name that you like. So I think that's the biggest thing that will push me on whether doing like or not age domain on a certain domain, on a certain niche. If I cannot wait to start, because like I had to start a project like a year ago, and I just wanted to start, and I couldn't find the right domain. On the other hand, I found crazy good domain on Odys, but it was in the finance niche. So good, the name, my God, I love it. I couldn't come up with something better, honestly. Like it's freaking perfect.
You're still working on it?
Yeah. I mean, it's I don't know if I should share the niche.
It's up to you.
Let's just say it's a niche that, well, okay, I will say it's crypto. It's a niche. It's not performing so well right now. Let's just say that crypto.
But it's not because of the domain. It's because of the niche.
Yeah. Like there are a lot of players that are investing now heavy because they think that crypto is gonna come back strong. The thing is that I'm not so convinced that it's gonna come back so strong. I'm still like optimist about crypto, but I'm not like let's say evangelist. I don't care if crypto is gonna work or not. I hope it works.
Yeah. So you basically believe that it will keep a certain place in the global market, let's say, but it won't be as big as it was like several years ago, 2 years ago.
Yeah, it's just like, I don't know right now, in the sense that, I mean, it's a long conversation. It's just, I don't know if there were just so many good conditions for crypto to do well. And I don't know if those conditions are going to come back. I think personally that crypto is going to come back, but perhaps not as strong as before. So I have already invested quite a lot on this domain, and right now I'm just keeping it on maintenance mode because I don't want to invest more resources on it.
Are you planning to keep it or flip it?
If I could flip it, it's just like it's not making enough right now to have a substantial flip. That like to the goal that I would like. I will just wait and see how the next bull run goes. Because also like revenues are crushed right now because of the bear market. And if there is another bull market, I will invest heavily on it again. And because it's okay, like it's doing fine. It's like ranking for some decent keywords. It's just like it's in maintenance mode. Like I don't want it to decline. I don't want it to. I'm not even trying to grow it so crazy.
You're keeping it, and you're still considering it a real business, rather than a side hustle, or not?
I would say it's very on the side. Like, as I said, like my main focus is the other 3 businesses. The others, like I try to spend as little mental energy as possible on those, on all the smaller sides. It's obviously like they require some attention, but yeah. I also have a guy on the team that I have a look at them. So, but
yeah, it seems like, well, getting back to the things we were talking previously during this conversation, during our dialogue, it seems like it's one of those cases when you just understood that it's time to pull out a little and not to go full and go all in. Yeah,
there is just so much like crypto. I mentioned the niche is crypto. Because crypto is such a special niche. It's like there is just like so much volatility and uncertainty that right now I've already invested quite a bit on it, and I don't wanna. I knew that it was gonna be a risky play. Don't get me wrong. I knew that crypto, like every other finance investment related thing, has bull market and bear market. So I knew this day of bear market is gonna come, and I mean, man, like I take it for what it is. Like I always knew it was gonna be complicated niche, risky bet, everything else. Like I took it into account, so I'm just keeping it like that over there. Like if crypto has a comeback, for sure I'm gonna focus more on it.
All right,
but for now, yeah, for sure. Like I would have like. If I could have flipped it, I would have flipped it. I would have flipped it over the bull market though. Man, like the bull market was insane for crypto affiliate sites. I was late. My site started ranking late, but I saw so many good sites on marketplaces like Empire Flippers. I saw this site, the German site. It was actually an entire portfolio of German sites in the crypto niche that sold for, I think, for like 8 million or something like that. Which is wild, especially for foreign sites.
Yeah.
It's like there was a German site. I think it's the first foreign site that I saw selling on Empire Flippers. I'm not sure about the details because I don't know these people. I just looked at it. I just looked into it. It was wild. And I mean, I know many people in this niche, and that's also why I decided to make a bet on it, but it's a peculiar niche. Like even if you are into trading, obviously it follows similar trend, even though it's a little different. Like trading, it's more consistent than crypto, I would say. But I don't have any trading site, so
at least for now.
No, I mean, man, I'm so focused on the stuff. I promised myself I shouldn't start new things. I need to first divest from some stuff. I'm actually trying to flip to SaaS this year. That's one of my goals, and and eventually flip another site. Just so I want to free up mental focus. Like last November, I sold like all of the smaller sites that I didn't want to look at anymore.
Got tired
it's
of
just
them.
literally like they were taking mental energy, and I didn't have. If you don't put effort into it, they're just not gonna grow. I actually talk about it with Alex of Odys. He told me you should focus more on. He also told me you should focus more. I know. I think up to 3 sites. Depends on how you. Every situation is different. Every site is different. Depends on the traction you're having on some sites or not. Depends on what are your plans. I think 1 to 3 sites is the golden ratio right now of sites or projects you can or should have. And it depends a lot on your cash flow, on how many things you are working on, busy you are, how busy you want to be. But I think 1 to 3 is a good ratio generally.
Putting aside the tiredness factor, at what point do you understand that a site is ripe for flipping?
You need to sell when it grows. I think
you create a site, you fill it with content,
as soon as possible.
You get to plain and simple.
As soon as I can flip, I flip.
But I mean, at what point do you have this sensation that, okay, this is the time?
If I'm seeing that the site is growing, so it makes it attractive, it's making good. It's obviously a matter also of revenues and what kind of flip you want to have, right?
Yeah.
Like I said, as soon as possible is worthless to flip a site for $100. For $3,000, unless you want to really just sell it. But if you want to have a serious flip, you just need
like a solid.
You
flip.
have a goal, and you go heavy on it until it gets that goal eventually. But if I just see how Google reacts to things. It's like if I see that the site is in a good growth trajectory and I can keep growing it and all of that.
You'll
say it reaches a point. It reaches a point where I'm like, it's time to divest because I'm not a good. I will say, I think it's not my strength to grow a site at that point. I think my strength is more starting something. That's why I think flipping is important for me, and it's also a matter of how much capital you have in your bank account, really, and what kind of and how your investment portfolio looks like. How much you want to allocate into riskier investment, less risky investment. For me, obviously I started with no capital. I was a broke student. And my first site I wanted to flip as soon as I got to, I think it was like 1.5, 2K a month profit. Then now I had a little bit. Then I had another flip. Now I have a little bit more capital. So perhaps I can push more. I can push until a site gets to a higher level, while taking into account that the site can drop, and I might lose everything. That's the thing. Like sites hardly go to zero. Unless you get a manual penalty, but that's another conversation. But it's so rare to get a manual penalty. You need to do something really shady or really, really aggressive. So, but sites can get penalized, and you're gonna just see like a huge drop. And I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, there is no right or wrong because it depends on the case, but it has to be a good in between selling when it's growing, selling when you still think it can grow, because you need to leave growth opportunities to your new buyer. That's what makes it. That's also what makes it attractive. And because and there is always the risk that it's gonna decline at some point if you.
Just
if you have limited capital and all of that, I would say if it's a good sum, and you don't want to build it into something bigger, maybe with other diversifying the channels, it's perhaps time to sell and cash in. But I don't know. I have friends that have totally different ideas. I have a friend, he's like, I mean, he also does well. That's what I said before. I mean, his idea is I'm not gonna sell until I have 1 million valuation on the site, and it makes sense for him because that's his only website. He's been focusing on it for the last 2 years. It makes good money, so it's not that far from that 1 million valuation, and I think it makes sense at that point. I would have probably flipped it earlier just because I'm maybe more risk adverse. Having just one site for me and investing so much and knowing that this site is worth, I don't know, probably this site is worth, I don't know, 500K, $500,000. And it's like knowing that site could drop to 100K with just one Google algorithm update. I'm like, man, I'm going to take the 500K right now because, man, I'm a young guy. I'm still hustling, man. That capital is so important. That peace of mind. But if you're older dude, like there are like people that buy sites are often like accomplished entrepreneurs. They come from totally different industries and they're wealthy. They're wealthy individuals. They have a very high net worth and they just want to buy a site to diversify and they're fine. They might buy a site for 200K and if they lose them, they don't care. For me, it will still hurt.
All right. Have you ever used AI for site creation, whether like the structure or content or whatever else?
Oh boy.
Or have you, if not, have you considered doing this?
Oh boy, man, the conversation of the moment, the topic of the moment, the hot topic.
I mean, do. Just yesterday, I saw a short video. I even watched it, a short video by Doug Cunnington of Niche Site Project about creating a blog post using ChatGPT. And it's a short video, like several minutes long, and he gives a step-by-step guide on how to do it. The structure, the subheadings, the headline, and everything. And then he asks the ChatGPT to write the post 500 to 1,000 words long, and then he checks it on the service that checks if it's text written by AI or a person. And it's just. I mean, even several months ago, you couldn't have imagined something like that so well written by an AI algorithm, Well, there were certain tools and services based on machine learning, but they weren't as good, You could tell that, okay, this is machine written text. But right now you have this amazing tool. It's not even a tool, it's just this algorithm that even though it has certain flaws, you still can use the thing created by it and just mine several gaps, So what do you think about all of this? I mean, have you used it? Have you considered
I've been experimenting with AI for quite a while. I had sites only built with AI already 1 year and a half ago. 1 year and about a year ago. I started a bunch of projects to see, because AI is great to create topical map. I mean, you need to take it for what it is. It's a tool.
You
need to use it when it makes sense and avoid using when it doesn't make sense. So I wouldn't use AI on a big authority site, but on a more gray hat project, why not? Because it allows, or at the beginning of a site, you can create topical authority really fast. I mean, we had so many conversations just today at lunch, or at Chiang Mai. I was there for a while 2 months ago, and we were often talking about these things. And I would say the general consensus between the people I talk to is that ChatGPT is a great opportunity. As you said, it writes so well. It writes better than many cheap writers.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think it's a good opportunity to make good money right now in the short term. We don't know, like nobody knows how it all depends how heavy Google is gonna go against the site. I think Google is gonna have a response, but it's just so hard to predict the future. I don't think it's gonna go so heavy just because, man, ChatGPT is insane. Like, isn't I think it's like we haven't seen such a hype about a certain new product / technology for a long while. Yeah. It's like long while since there was a technological product that everyone was talking about. It's like it's like the iPhone. Everyone was talking about it, and it's like my little cousin was talking to me about ChatGPT for Christmas. My sister, she's a doctor. She's a doctor. She was talking to a friend. I overheard a conversation. She was on the phone talking about ChatGPT, and it's like everyone was talking about it.
Yeah, it's all around the place, and sometimes you just wanna use it for whatever reason. You load the site up and it's full. You can't use it. It's crowded.
Yeah. I literally have a person that works on ChatGPT content right now. Like one of my virtual assistant basically these days doing just a lot of AI content to cover topical authority on some of my smaller sites. Again, I wouldn't use them on my biggest projects. That would be too risky at this point, because we don't know how Google is going to react. But I think on other sites, why not? At least you can create this topical authority and then you can always edit it later. At this point, it's like a loophole right now. You can just add, cover the whole topical map. Look until the site gets is in second page until a page is in second page, first page. Once it sits on second page or first page, you can edit it at that point. You can use a human editor to go through the text, and you need to take it for what it is. I don't have an answer because I don't know if what I'm doing is right or wrong. I think it all depends on how Google is going to go heavy, but it's such a wide adoption that I think Google is going to hardly go so much against it, just because it's so hard to it's like Google is going to penalize. There is also randomness. What if, I don't know, with what accuracy Google is going to be able to realize whether a content is AI or not? It all depends on that.
Still getting advanced.
If Google is able to be 100% sure, which is hard, especially if you add some editing, it's like, is Google going to just crush site just out of suspicion that they use ChatGPT? It's like, I don't think so. I think there is I'm not an expert on algorithms and all of that, but I think getting more than 95% accuracy that is written in ChatGPT perhaps is possible for Google. I mean, if there is a company that can do this, probably Google, but I don't know if it's so doable for them to just penalize, because there's just be so much random. If a lot of sites will be penalized even if they barely used it. Or what if you have 1,000 content on a site and you use it on 10 articles? Does it mean that your whole site gets crashed? I don't know, man. Really, it could be. It's like a link. Sometimes you could get penalized for one really bad backlink eventually. It could get. But it's hard that you get penalized for one link, because that could be randomness. It could be that you literally randomly got one link. But if you have a pattern of consistency, that's probably when you get penalized. At this point, I think the loophole is open. There are probably some good opportunities to scale it. And I'm, especially on gray hat side and all of that, why not? It's just much cheaper. But At the same time, you need to always think like, if you're building a brand and all of that, you need to think about the value for the customer, right? So we are in business to create value. We're not here for looking for opportunities. As I was saying before, I don't like to be opportunity oriented. And this means that I'm not a fan of just like, let's say, I do these experiments. It's also fun to see what happens. And like, these are more short-term projects. I think it's fun to experiment and it's cool. You can make also some good money, but the main focus needs to be on the long-term stuff, because these are the meaningful things. These are the things that you can make serious money on. You can make a bunch of money on random opportunities, but the real money is made on the long-term stuff.
Yeah.
And you probably cannot use ChatGPT.
The thing is that, these machine learning based algorithms are constantly advancing, and they're becoming better and better what they're were created to do, and don't you think it's kind of like a crutch for business owners, for entrepreneurs, for random specialists, like, for example, content writers or site builders or whoever else that they start relying too much on these systems, not at this point, but maybe at some point in the future. There had always been this point in human history when a new technology appeared, and the adepts of all technologies, well, not adepts, I mean, general population that was used to the old ways, let's say, were against these new technologies, like, let's say, cars. The people were used to riding horses and using horses for transportation, and they were totally against it, and they didn't believe in it. Look at us now. No one believed in the internet in the early days, that it was possible to connect the entire world, basically. All those sorts of technologies, and these things found their way in our culture, in the way we live throughout the world, different societies, different countries. But these AI algorithms are so advanced in terms of like seemingly creating things. Okay, we can't say that they truly create things, because they that's also tricky, because humans also refer to all the different things before creating something. Even the nature, okay, like artists, they still refer to nature before painting something, okay? But these algorithms, they refer to the things created by us humans, right? And we get those amazing images, even music, now texts. There was also, I've heard something about like full animation feature or film. I can't remember exactly, but something like that, So this is so advanced that it seems like it might start replacing us in some kind of sense. Now that I say it, I've been thinking about it, and now as I say it, it sounds a bit strange to me myself, because as I said, we ourselves always constantly refer to other things around us, and these AI systems do pretty much the same. So do you consider it sort of a crutch that we start to rely on too much?
Oh man, I've been thinking about this for a long time. Like, I literally wrote my university dissertation thesis about AI applied to marketing years ago. I've been always like fascinated about this topic, about what you said. Who knows really what is gonna happen? It looks like, because there is a lot of hype. Like with every new technology, there is always a lot of hype, but sometimes they don't deliver as you would have expected. Like look at VR. It's a technology where there was a lot of hype. It didn't reach mass adoption yet. We don't know. Even Web 3.0, like so many promises were not there. But if you look at the internet, obviously it delivered. If you look, the thing is, the question I think is really how much we now live in the information age, right? And how much is AI gonna replace information age jobs? Like, let's say, lawyers, consultants, and all of that. I think at this point, it can already help. I think it can already help lawyers, like, find information. And then you need to anyways go through them. I don't know if it will ever reach a crazy high level of accuracy to be an actual lawyer. Might be definitely. So there is a chance to replace a lot of stuff, a lot of consulting jobs, perhaps at some point. It's just so hard to know right now how much it's gonna deliver. This seems to be the trend. It looks like the trend of when people were working a lot of people in society were working in factories. Now we are more into manufacturing, like in heavy industries and all of that, which is still relevant. Obviously, we now moved into more jobs in the information age kind of jobs. What would be the synergy between them? How much AI is gonna replace, like it's happening right now in heavy industries and manufacturing, where there are still people working there. Probably people are gonna still be involved for quite a long time.
To some extent.
I think at this point you cannot overly rely on AI. Obviously, it's not at the level of accuracy. In the next years, we're gonna see probably to a certain level, it's gonna be surprising, like ChatGPT was for everyone.
Yeah. So no Health 9000 in the near future.
Sorry.
No Health 9000 in the near future.
I'm optimistic always, honestly. Like, some people say that Google has this crazy technology that is so advanced. A lot of people seems to be worried about that. A lot of smart people seems to be worried about that.
Yeah.
I don't know, really. Who knows? Who is really inside of that laboratory? Like, it definitely seems advanced. Like, all of these companies are surely competing like crazy. Because also that, what is the hype or not? Like, I heard once, I think it was I don't remember who was, professor maybe, said the nation that is gonna control AI is gonna control the world. That is gonna have the most advanced AI is gonna control the world. I think it's simplistic. In the sense, the US is already so advanced, and the US companies and all of that, they work hand in hand with the Pentagon and all of those, Look and Palantir, all of these companies. So far, I think it's just too early. I don't want to be overhyped. I don't want to fall too much for the hype, which is surely justified, though.
Yeah. Are you still into video games?
Not anymore. Actually, stop. Did I tell you why I stopped? I just realized I was too nerdy. Not that if you play video games, obviously, it's just that I was spending my time building website and playing video games all day when I was 14, and I was so, man, I realized I had to hit the gym and talk with some girls at some point. I was so unbalanced on that side that I had to overbalance with that. And so far I stopped. I like Civilization 6 though. I was playing a lot of Civilization. Awesome. During the pandemic, I love Civilization 6. And I was playing South Park video game during the pandemic because I love South Park. For the and the thing is, my eyes get so tired, so I already worked all day at the computer, and then I cannot watch a screen anymore. I need to get out or do something else.
Either way, what do you enjoy doing in your free time, provided you have it?
I think something important for every entrepreneur is to have something that puts you in a flow state. It's like a sport or something that makes you stop thinking, let's say, in a positive way. Like I tried surfing for that. I got injured. And then I got back to, I think like martial arts are generally great for that. Cause like, obviously if somebody is choking you or kicking you, you cannot think too much about your business. I think it helps to gain perspective. I personally go to the gym, read, and play soccer. So I think soccer is the best thing for that. Like when you play soccer, you cannot overthink. And
our head of marketing would agree with you about soccer.
we can have a game. We can have a game sometimes.
Yeah. And seems like you enjoy traveling too.
Yeah, I mean, my girlfriend forced me to travel. I'm joking. No, I'm joking. I like traveling. I like, that was one of my goals when I started like launching an online business, was to be able to travel and being more location independent. And for sure, I tried to use this as much as possible. This year, I decided that I would like to travel less, because last 2-3 years was always on the move. And it's hard to focus. It's hard to build something great when you're always on the move. So this year I'm definitely planning to travel a little bit less, but I'm already planning a trip to India. So up to a certain point. Yeah, it's great. I mean, it's great, especially when I was younger, quote unquote. Yeah, it helps you to like discover yourself. But everyone is really a different journey. Some people should probably maybe continue traveling. Some people not. I just think like traveling can become like a distraction from yourself. It's good to learn from yourself, but then it can become a distraction from actually doing something meaningful.
All right. What's your favorite book of all time?
Oh, wow. For me, it's on Shortness of Life by Seneca. It's a book that really, if I can think of a book that changed my life, it's that. Obviously, many books had a huge impact, but for me, that book made me realize the importance of time. We always think about like how to manage money and all of that, but these are all resources that we can replenish. You can always, you lose money, you make money, like it doesn't matter that much. I mean, it's important, of course, but like you can always make money or lose it. But time is like the only resource you cannot replenish. So that book is just so good. And it was also, gave me a lot of meaning. Like he said, is life too short? No, life is long enough if you know how to use it. And makes you realize, wow, so much time that you maybe lose doing things that don't really matter to you, or like overthinking about what other people think, or like, and who really cares, really. Like in 3 generations, like I read this quote that really stuck with me, is like, in 3 generations, nobody that you have met will have, like, after 3 generations, there is nobody that met you in person. More or less. I don't know how long we're gonna live. So like, you're overthinking about people that are just not gonna exist, like you're not gonna exist. But I would say that. Many books, so it's hard to choose one. Yeah, but I'll say overall that one.
Yeah, but still there's one that like made the greatest impact on you. Yeah. Funny enough, right now I'm reading From Eternity to Here by Sean M. Carroll. He's an astrophysicist, cosmologist, and he recently, last year I think, he became, I remember that he used to work at Caltech at the same table that Richard Feynman was working at. Yeah, and so this book, From Eternity to Here, it's about the era of time and why time flows forward and not backwards. Wow. You know, of course he tackles this question from the physics perspective, entropy in particular, but it gives like this cool and very surprising perspective on why time is the way it is. You know,
That's fascinating.
Why we can't go backwards whenever we want to, like backwards in time, like we do when we like walk through the hall. We can just go to one end of it or the other, you know. Yeah, I'm still.
That's so fascinating.
I'm still in the like fourth part of the book, but I love this guy. I've actually had an interview with him a few years back. Yeah, I've been working for a Russian language popular science magazine, Naked Science. Well, it's a website and a digital magazine. At first I was just translating various science news for it, and then I came up with an idea. Hey, why don't I just do interviews with scientists?
That's interesting. I just got the sample on my Kindle right now. Yeah, man, looks interesting.
You should check it out. And the great thing about Sean Carroll in particular is that he's although he's a very, very advanced scientist who tackles really complex questions, you know, he's also incredible at putting all of this in simple words, you know, for
interesting. That's good for me, man.
Yeah.
Because I'm not a physicist. Like I don't know.
Neither am I, but it's just one of the things I'm fond of.
And that's a good thing to be fond of, though, because it's like understanding that, like a thing that I think it's true. It's if you don't understand something, you cannot use it to your advantage. Mm-hmm. So business, if you look at business as a game, it's like if you don't understand the business game, you cannot win at it. It would be like trying to play Monopoly and you don't know the rules of the game. And it's like some people don't understand life and they just get angry. It's like literally trying to figure out and see things for like understanding the rules or certain things. Like social interaction has certain rules in society. You don't you don't go meet the queen and dress in a weird way, you know.
What would your advice be for aspiring entrepreneurs out there?
As long as it's an educated choice that you're making, like on an investment in a certain business or not, as long as it's a B plus, the choice that you're making, like that, it makes sense, and you have a pretty good probability of making it if you make it big and you don't have too much to lose. Or at least not too much in the sense like something that is gonna break you. Just have a bias for action, experiment. Don't be afraid, and just keep going. Because if you don't have a bias for action, people who are way less smarter than you are gonna take action and overcome you. And not to say, like, I think most people in business and everything else are pretty much like very savvy people and smart and everything else. But I see so many of my friends who would have liked to start an online business and everything else. They just don't take action. And it's like, they're so smart, like, and all of that. And like, man, like, I know 20 years old and make more than me. and it's like, don't underestimate yourself. Just take action and you're going to figure it out on the way. If you're not sure you want to do it, don't do it. Though. Because it's a tough journey and you need to be able to sacrifice a lot and learn on the fly a lot of things, a lot of skills. And it's not easy. And it's not like you need to be willing to sacrifice. If you're all of these things, then you still want to do it, then bias for action.
Wow, that sounds like something someone could really apply to their life. Yeah, I think this is where we will wrap it up. Thank you for this conversation, Angelo. It's
thanks
nice
to you, Vladimir.
It's nice meeting you, and it was really a pleasure talking to you. And thank you very much for your live mind, let's say, for your flow of thought. Really, it was a pleasure.
Same for me. It was great to talk and share things. You had so many good questions. I couldn't like not answer, because these are all things like that obviously like I've been thinking a lot about, and these are like common things in a entrepreneurial journey. So yeah, thanks a lot.